Well, that's not something I expected to see first thing in the morning. When I wake up, usually the first thing I do is say, "Oh God, it's morning." And I crawl out of bed, hear my bones pop, and slowly make my way to the latrine. Then it's off to take care of the animals. Of course, that's usually how it goes. When I head to the animals, usually it's dead silent outside. Most everything is either going to sleep or just barely waking up and really not interested in being, well, in the world of the living at that point. Yet this morning was different. This morning I could hear the F-15s from the Air National Guard down the way. Usually I hear them when they're doing their maneuvers. They usually for about a month during the summer, but this one was different. It isn't just their normal pattern. No, what the hell is going on? How come I hear them screeching by? What's going on? I can't see them, but I can sure hear them. Usually you only hear changes of throttle like that when they're in some sort of firefight. But what the shit? I look up and around. What is going on? Sure enough, I saw one, but just barely over the horizon. It's banking hard, and as soon as it made its turn, it slammed its throttle, and I could see the flares coming out the back. Not the flares like they're trying to stop some sort of missile from striking them. No, this was the flash from the back of the engine as those massive turbines cranked that thing up. All I could think of is that pilot, either he is about ready to pass out or he just crapped himself. Either way, jeez, that's a lot of G's to be pulling. That's insane. But I can still hear more than one. It's odd. Then I see something going past me. It's wobbling. What the hell was that? Is all I could think. There, some sort of strange triangular something was moving, but it also was following something else, something odd, something not quite pill-shaped, not, well, I guess you could say disc-shaped, but it seemed as though one of these strange vehicles was facing the other one. It seemed to be matching speed and trying to keep up exactly with it with its movements, but the it wasn't banking or anything. They were both constantly just changing pitch, constantly moving left, right. The yaw was all sorts of weird. It was just bobbing all over the place. That can't be a fun trip. Sure enough, both F-15s come in screaming over my head, and before I realized anything is going on, before I even heard it, I felt it. I felt the brass fall on my ass. It's just like, what the hell are they shooting at? And sure enough, I heard the guns whining through. Not quite as interesting to hear as the A-10s, but still, these things pump out a lot of fire really quick. It's actually well noted that if they hold the trigger down, they don't have much more than maybe 30 seconds worth of fire and they completely run out. So whatever they're trying to shoot, they must have a lock on. I look and one of the wobbly ships is coming, making its way back. It's moving left, right, up, down, dip, diving, dodging all over the place. My eyes are having trouble keeping on it. But the strange triangular craft is keeping up with it okay. Not quite as well. Whoever's behind it is either not piloting as well or just doesn't have the reaction speed, or maybe it's the technology, I don't know. But the circular craft is moving, trying to dodge all of these. I see it tilt and some sort of light comes out from underneath it. Originally there's just one light, but now there's three glowing very bright. As it begins to accelerate, suddenly a missile comes in, slamming right next to the side. Didn't actually strike it, but the explosion was enough to make that circular craft just move sideways, swaying left and right, moving around and around. If it wasn't erratic before, it sure is now. Something was off. Something was wrong. I look close, and I can just see it going over the horizon. What was that? Was it venting atmosphere? Was it on fire? I don't know. Was that even smoke? Then I see the triangular craft disappear over, followed by the two F-15s. What is going on? Then it whips past again. I can see it way off in the distance, just there, and then something comes out of it. Something comes my way. Is it going to hit me? No, the angle's too low. What the heck is that? The circular craft is still going. It's erratic. It's flying off in the distance and goes over the horizon. The triangular craft right behind it, following it. The F-15s flanking it, trying to get seemingly another shot. I see one of them fire another missile, but I don't know if it hit. I hear an explosion, but that could be anything at this point. The small piece that flew off flew almost directly at me. What is going on? My adrenaline is spiked up, and I'm actually holding my pistol. When the hell did I draw this thing? I look forward, and I realize whatever came off just crashed on the far end of the property. Rushing over to the chickens, I didn't even bother putting the feed in their tray. I literally just chucked it over the top, opened up their house, and I bolted towards the other end of the property, suddenly wishing that I owned a dog. But I had to know what was going on. I moved my way over, running between the trees as fast as I could, kind of kicking myself as I'm already over 100 meters away, going, I could have just grabbed the ATV and got there faster, but you know what? Screw it. I'm already at full speed. Running up the hill, over one hill, reaching the flat area, and then just seeing something on the very edge. Seemed like something came in through the property line. Something had smashed through the trees, and when it crashed, I didn't hear a thump. I moved in slow as I could see something on the ground, something synthetic. Something was made. I don't know what the hell that was. It looks almost like a chair. So something had wrapped around a chair. Like, wait, could that have been an ejection pod? Now I'm gripping my 45 even tighter. What's going on? The weakened trees begin to snap and limbs begin to fall. This does not help the ambiance at all as things crash to the ground. As one of the limbs, a very large one, crashes, I could see another half a tree, something that had been clipped by this pod, begin to lean. I hear it snapping. 1, 2, 3 snaps at a time. Then it goes over, creaking as it falls, and then as it reaches the ground, I hear this strange yelp. What the hell was that? With my pistol up, I begin to move forward, all my training kicking in, the weapon level with the eyes, moving it around, making sure I have my peripheral vision on full scan, moving myself slowly forward, crouched down, level, trying not to make a lot of noise, moving as smoothly as I can forward, stepping over logs, sticks, and rocks, trying not to look down, keep focused, keep looking out, swaying left and right. Something is out here. Something was scared of that tree. Something's on my property. Something, well, I don't know what that something is. I finally get towards the very edge of the plateau. I look down where the tree had fallen, and almost 10 feet in front of me was something strange. It was smaller than I was. Much smaller, almost bleach white with some sort of strange, stretchy suit. I've only seen this in cartoons. What the hell? I'm suddenly thinking like the mask, just like in the funny papers. What the hell is this thing? It saw me there and suddenly freaked out, tried to back up a little bit, but it seemed as though it was injured. It wasn't moving right. I knew that whatever this thing was, it just wasn't human. So obviously the body isn't going to be the same, but it seemed to limp, or I can't say that because it crawled backwards, but it's like one of the arms it had didn't want to work right. Then I looked and I saw that this thing was actually trying to favor that one arm and one of its legs. I moved forward slowly, the hammer back on my pistol. This thing makes one wrong move, and I'm going to blow its brains clean across the rest of my property. I got close. What are you? Who are you? What's going on? I stated. It looked at me, slowly reached up, and grabbed its other arm. It was clear that I was holding it because it hurt. I moved more, a little bit more, just a little more closer to it. Just a little. Not much, but enough to make it know that I mean business. Answer me, say something, I said. Then I heard something, but I didn't hear it with my ears. It simply said, please don't hurt. What? I said. Please do not hurt. I looked around. I thought maybe something else had been out here. I swayed around, trying to make sure my finger didn't fire off an extra round just to be safe, but there was nothing else except me and this thing. What? What? I looked at it. Please do not hurt me. Am hurt. Save, please. Well, at least this thing has manners, I thought to myself. I moved a little closer and looked at it. Sure enough, its arm was twisted in a way that if it wasn't for this strange skin-tight suit it was wearing, I'm pretty sure it'd have a compound fracture. I looked at the leg, and one of them was twisted sideways, as though the foot was actually bent about 40 degrees the wrong way. Again, if it wasn't for this strange suit, all I could say is this thing would be on the ground, not trying to talk, but it would be screeching in pain. Whatever the hell this suit is, definitely is being helping this thing out. I looked closer at it, and then I looked up and motioned towards that device that was towards the top of the hill. It simply looked at me. It had to stare at me for a moment and say, "Yes, mine. Please help." I looked for a moment. Thought if this thing was going to attack me, it would have done something by now. Reaching up with my thumb, I slowly grabbed it, squeezed the trigger, and slowly rode the hammer forward. Though there was still one in the chamber, and my finger was still in the trigger well. If this thing wanted something, I'd still get it, but I don't need this thing going off just because I got a little nervous. I looked at it and said, "What do you need?" It looked, held out its good arm, and said, "Carry, please. Me carry, you carry me." Apparently this thing was having some serious problems translating the English language, even though this was, inside my freaking head, which again freaked me the hell out. I looked, and with the one free arm, I reached up, grabbed under its arm, and lifted it up, and oh my god, was this thing light! Seriously, with one arm, I was able to pick this thing up, and it was pretty small. I mean, you would think gray aliens are light because they're so skinny. I mean, this thing wasn't quite as skinny, and it was bleach white. Still had the dark eyes, don't get me wrong, which was enough to make me aim my pistol right at its gut the entire time. But I could still just pick it up and carry it. I carried it back to its, I'm guessing, ejection pod, and sure enough, when I got to it, I realized that when it hit the tree, the damn thing broke open and ejected this sucker across the yard. I had to laugh a little bit. "I'd file a complaint," is all I could say to it. It looked at me, not knowing exactly what the hell I was saying, but it still got to its pod. It reached in, grabbed the device, held it to the arm, and suddenly I could hear something. I couldn't just hear it, I could feel it. It was vibration going through my body. I know this. Where have I heard this before? Wait. I've worked with binaural beats before. I know what this is. Suddenly, the thing stopped working, and this thing started working with it. Started pushing a whole bunch of buttons that I couldn't even see. And then it shook it, and then it hit it on the side of the capsule, trying to get it to work. What the heck? It looked at this device and started screeching. I actually had to cover my ears and yelled, "Knock it off! Knock it off! That hurts! Knock it the hell off!" Then I actually had to raise my pistol and point it at the thing's head before it finally shut up. I realized something, whatever this was important. I pointed at it and said, "What?" It said, "Heal. Me heal me." I'm still having trouble with the English language, but I get it. Whatever this thing was, it was some sort of regen piece. I've heard about this before, vibrations to help the human body, which, as we all know, is illegal to use now, because, oh, heaven forbid you not want to take a pill. So I picked it up, looked at it, and I couldn't make heads or tails of this thing. I wasn't exactly going to open up or even try. There's no screws, there's no bolts, there's no nothing. It's just a sealed device. I don't know what the hell to go with that. Before I even put it down, I looked over and whatever this thing wasn't doing well. It suddenly slumped down, not only holding its arm, but it moved its good arm down to actually hold its abdomen. I looked close and I could see that part of it had been squished in. When this guy hit, he hit hard. I thought to myself, if he has ribs, they're probably stuck in his liver or his kidney or pancreas or something by now. He doesn't have a lot of time. I don't know how to heal him. I don't know xenobiology. The closest I got is a comic book called that, and believe me, it's not going to help at all. So I went and knelt down next to it. Still had my pistol in my hand, just in case. I asked, what do I do? How do I fix you? It looked, and I could almost see sorrow in its eyes. It said, cannot fix without need machine. Machine vibration help save. Oh man. I knew something was off, so I simply took its bad hand, which I raised it up, and this thing didn't seem like it was in actual pain, but I simply held the four fingers and looked at them. This was odd. It was the shape of a human hand. I mean, it wasn't like tendrils or anything. This was strange. I guess I'm going to have to sit here and watch this thing die. It simply asked, sing for me? Sing. Sing for me? I realized this was a last request, so I simply held the hand, brought it close to my chest, and I didn't know what to do. I mean, all the knowledge that I know with music is like hard rock. It's not exactly hymns or anything like that. I don't remember them. But then I thought to myself, maybe just something like meditation. I thought for a moment back when I dabbled in it, and I simply went, um. It looked and its eyes got wide. I thought it liked it, so again, doing the same thing, opening my mouth wide, I took in a deep breath, and the way it's supposed to is you're just relaxing the vocal cords and just letting the sound come out, and letting your jaw slowly close naturally. It then got closer. I pulled up my pistol, put it towards its chest. What are you doing? Healing. Healing. Again. Healing again. What? Really? I this time opened my hand so its palm would be right up against my chest. It again got closer. It's as though this one tone was what it was trying to do. I knew vibrations healed, but I didn't think it would work on something like this. It got very close now, trying to get as close to my body as possible. This time, I figured, you know what? This little guy hasn't come at me at all. So I reached up with my spare arm, wrapped around his torso, pulled him, and I'm assuming him, close, right up against so his head was right next to me. Although my pistol was still snug right up against where its kidneys would be, just in case. Once again, I took a deep breath. It seemed as though every time I did this, it began to heal a little bit more and more. Some sort of sonic resonance seemed to be going through, but how was this even possible? This is just me talking. I'm not a sonic resonate device or anything like that. And yes, you need a resonator, not just a speaker. But how is this even possible? I don't know, but this thing finally started reaching over and holding me with its once bad arm, and it's held on closer, holding me as tight as it could. As I continued to go through the same thing, I decided that I would try maybe the Halo theme. So I took a deep breath. It seemed to like this even more. Unfortunately, it seemed to get it almost jittery, so I decided to go back to the old one. I don't know what the hell was going on, but yeah. Maybe I should not try anything crazy just in case whatever I did put it into heat. And seriously, looking at this thing, all I can say is, no. Right around the time, I saw it raise its once damaged arm and move it around as though it's doing some sort of system check, just like anybody else does after they injure themselves or think they might have cut something off. I heard something else coming through the atmosphere. Something I remember from back in the day and something you don't ever forget. It was a sound of rotary wings coming through. A lot of them. And this time, they weren't exactly rolling shallow either. I listened, and I could hear the low flap flap of the Chinooks, but I could tell there's more than one. More than two. Holy crap, is that three or four? I can't tell. They're starting to merge together. Before I could even say anything, I saw Blackhawks go right overhead, and as soon as they passed by where this thing had crashed through, they began to circle out and began to slowly rotate in a perimeter. Before I even had a chance to say, holy crap, I saw the Chinooks come in. The ropes had already come down with jungle penetrators on the end, and they slammed on the ground. And then I saw a whole bunch of folks coming down. You can't land a helicopter through these trees, but you can sure fast rope real quick. As they came through, they all came weapons raised. I decided, I'm not going to piss these guys off. So I simply raised my good hand in a sign of please don't shoot me, and very, very slowly I put my 45 on the ground. This thing holding on to me was still trying to hold on, even though I had stopped doing all the ohms and hums and whatever the hell else I could think of. These folks came up, grabbed this thing, peeled it off me, not in a violent way. They wanted this thing alive for some reason. It seemed to be extremely calm, like is drunk or something. I don't know. Didn't care. However, they began to come over to me, grabbed me, pulled me away, and started questioning me. I said, look, guys, as far as I'm concerned, this didn't happen. I wasn't here. You weren't here. It's not my first time dealing with spooks, okay? This seemed to be enough to calm them down because if they made me disappear, that's a lot of work for them. It would be more work because now I'm on the town council and they'd start asking a bunch of questions these guys don't want to have to answer. Well, since they already had what they came for, they had already strapped up this escape pod, and I'm just assuming that's what it was. And one of the Chinooks picked it up and slung loaded out of there. And before I realized what was going on, they simply dropped the spy's rope. These guys hooked up and they're gone. I was like, okay, what the hell was that shit? I looked and just was amazed at how efficient they moved through. And it wasn't long before I just couldn't hear anything in the distance. Thinking about it, they didn't have name tapes. They didn't have any unit patches. Hell, they didn't even have a flag on the shoulder. These guys weren't exactly wearing standard uniform either, so either these guys were CIA or something like that. I've worked with mercs before. Don't like them, but you know what? It's better to do this than being shot. After not being able to hear them for a while, I finally get up, walk over towards my game cameras. I don't know why these guys didn't think to look for game cameras, but I mean, they are hidden, of course. Every time I have one out in the open, the deer seem to dodge the damn things, so I had to have them hidden. Retrieving the SD cards, I thought to myself, well, just in case something happens, I got a little bit of insurance. As I walked back, I thought to myself, they've always said that the human voice has powers or words have power. I just didn't know it would be that type. Then I looked at the SD cards in my hand, then put them in my pocket so I wouldn't lose the damn things. And then, as I could see the house in sight, I thought to myself, you know what I need to buy? I need to get a frequency resonator or two right now. Because after everything I just saw, It's a pretty safe bet that if I find the right hertz, well, I can do all that fun stuff that they talk about on the internet. Besides, I've always heard that this technology's been patented and then hidden. Well, what they don't know ain't gonna hurt me. Hello, everybody. This is Syntax. Thank you so much for joining me on today's story. Before I go, I need to send out a big thank you to one of my supporters, and that is the Guardian Sage. Thank you so much for helping me out and supporting the channel. Everybody else, I'll see you on the next one. This is Syntax, ejecting.